They called my $1,000,000 idea a pipe dream. My own father, the man whose legacy I was supposed to inherit, gave me an ultimatum: the failing family business, or the curb. I chose the curb, a beat-up van, and the glow of my laptop screen, fueled by their Wi-Fi and a burning desire to prove them all spectacularly wrong. This is how I built an empire from their rejection. The pristine white of our Fresno kitchen felt more like an interrogation room that tense afternoon. I was 23, Alex Ramirez, a Stanford grad. Instead of the expected resume for Ramirez Logistics, my father David's struggling trucking company, I clutched a pitch deck for Swift Ship, my carefully nurtured vision. "You want to do what?" Dad's voice, thick with disbelief, bounced off the granite. His face, etched with stress as Ramirez Logistics faltered in a digitizing market, darkened considerably. "I want to build a software platform, Dad," I repeated, my voice surprisingly steadier than my trembling hands. "It's Swift Ship. It'll help small e-commerce businesses streamline logistics, giving them a real fighting chance." "Absolutely not." He slammed his heavy coffee mug down, dark liquid splashing ominously. "We didn't pay for Stanford for you to chase a pipe dream. You're joining the family business. That's final, Alex." I looked to Mom, Isabella, a desperate plea. She just smoothed her apron, her gaze steadfastly avoiding mine, fixed on an invisible speck on the tile. "Alex," she sighed, "your father's right. This tech obsession isn't practical." His ultimatum, delivered with cold finality, was stark. Ramirez Logistics by Monday morning, or I was out. The words hung in the strained air, heavy and irrevocable. My pre-packed backpack upstairs, a testament to months anticipating this standoff, felt like my only possession. "I choose out," I said, the decision solidifying as the words left my lips. My escape route to Ben Carter's garage down in San Jose was already firmly mapped. The drive south from Fresno to San Jose felt both like an escape and a plunge into the unknown. My old Ford Econoline van, now my cramped home and mobile office, rattling along Highway 99. That first night, parked on a quiet residential street near Ben Carter's place, was surreal, the steering wheel an uncomfortable pillow. Ben, my best friend since freshman year at Stanford, had a small garage apartment above his parents' bustling San Jose bakery, and his actual garage became my sanctuary. "Operation Swift Ship is a go!" He'd greeted me with a sympathetic grin and a plate of his mom's incredible empanadas, a lifeline of calories and comfort. The real goldmine, though, was the blazing fast fiber optic internet connection I'd helped him install a year prior, a digital umbilical cord I now clung to. My laptop glowed in the dim garage, the familiar, comforting rhythm of keystrokes, a counterpoint to the city's distant hum. Swift Ship was taking shape, an all-in-one logistics platform designed specifically for the small, independent e-commerce businesses dotting California, the artisans and entrepreneurs often crushed by complex shipping, fulfillment, and the high costs associated with them. It would offer real-time route optimization, integrated inventory tracking, and access to discounted shipping rates they couldn't negotiate alone. But, as I coded, another more clandestine project ran in parallel. I meticulously documented every outdated process, every glaring inefficiency I knew intimately plagued Ramirez Logistics, a digital blueprint of their vulnerabilities, compiled not out of spite, but with a gnawing premonition that one day they'd desperately need exactly what I was building. They just didn't know it yet. My days settled into a strange, nomadic rhythm. I became a connoisseur of Bay Area public libraries and cheap co-working spaces, nursing a single lukewarm coffee for hours to justify the Wi-Fi and a precious electrical outlet. Showering at a budget gym became a morning ritual, and my diet largely consisted of protein bars, instant ramen, and whatever leftovers Ben's kind mother pressed into my hands. Sleep was a luxury, usually snatched in the back of the van, strategically parked in well-lit, relatively safe industrial areas I'd scouted. It wasn't glamorous, but without the constant, unspoken disapproval at home, without Dad's pointed remarks or Mom's pained silence, I could pour every waking moment, every ounce of energy, into Swift Ship. The code grew, the user interface refined, the algorithms tightened. One blustery afternoon, as I was hunched over my laptop in a bustling San Francisco coffee shop, a familiar figure appeared. My older sister, Olivia, a sharp, successful lawyer, looked entirely out of place amidst the startup hopefuls and gig economy workers. "This is ridiculous, Alex," she said, her voice a low hiss, though her eyes held a flicker of concern. "Living like this to prove what? That you're as stubborn as Dad?" I didn't look up, fingers flying across the keyboard. "I'm building something important, Liv." She sighed, leaving a thick envelope on my rickety table. "Don't be an idiot. Here's $7,000. Get a decent place, please." I used the money, every cent, to upgrade my ancient laptop and secure more robust server time. The breakthrough came when 3 local businesses, a Berkeley artisan bakery, an Oakland-based handmade jewelry e-store, and a San Mateo organic meal kit delivery service, agreed to beta test Swift Ship, all struggling with the exact logistical nightmares my platform was designed to solve. The feedback from my beta testers was invaluable, a torrent of real-world problems and insightful suggestions that helped me hammer Swift Ship into a truly user-centric tool. "This is exactly what we've been praying for," exclaimed Maria, the owner of the Berkeley bakery, after I demonstrated the automated delivery routing and inventory sync. "The big logistics companies are too expensive, and trying to manage it all ourselves is a nightmare." When I quoted her a subscription price, deliberately set low to build early traction and word of mouth, her eyes lit up. Within weeks, all 3 beta testers converted to paying customers. It wasn't a fortune, but it was revenue, tangible proof that Swift Ship solved a real pain point. That first direct deposit, small as it was, felt more significant than any academic award. The steady, albeit modest, income allowed me to escape the van and rent a tiny, no-frills studio apartment in a less glamorous part of Oakland, a welcome upgrade from Ben's garage, though I kept the lease strictly month to month, still flying under my parents' radar. I reinvested every spare dollar back into development and basic marketing. Then, one Tuesday morning, as I was debugging a particularly stubborn piece of code, my burner phone, the one I used for business, rang. The number was unfamiliar, a Palo Alto area code. "Is this Alex Ramirez, founder of Swift Ship?" A crisp, professional female voice inquired. My heart skipped a beat. "Yes, this is Alex," I managed, trying to sound more composed than I felt. "This is Evelyn Hayes from Summit Ventures," she continued, her tone calm yet authoritative. "We've been hearing some very interesting buzz about your platform from a few of our portfolio companies in the e-commerce space. They say Swift Ship is precisely what the small business logistics market needs." My grip tightened on the cheap plastic phone. Summit Ventures. They were one of the names in early-stage tech investment. The Summit Ventures office in Palo Alto was everything my tiny Oakland studio wasn't. Sleek, minimalist, and humming with an almost palpable energy of innovation and serious money. I'd spent half of my meager savings on a decent, if slightly ill-fitting, second-hand suit, trying desperately not to look like someone who, until recently, had been coding from the back of a van. Evelyn Hayes, surprisingly younger than I'd imagined, perhaps early 40s, greeted me with a firm handshake and an easy confidence that spoke of someone who'd navigated the treacherous waters of Silicon Valley successfully. "Walk me through SwiftShip again, Alex," she said, gesturing towards a massive display screen in the glass-walled conference room where my demo was already queued up. I dove in, the interface as familiar as my own reflection. "Small e-commerce businesses are drowning in logistical complexity," I explained, demonstrating how a user could set up their entire shipping and fulfillment process in under an hour. Existing solutions are either too expensive, too cumbersome, or too limited. SwiftShip offers enterprise-level tools, route optimization, inventory management, multi-carrier integration, but simplified and affordable. Evelyn listened intently, her questions sharp and insightful. She pulled up another screen. Summit Ventures actually looked at acquiring a stake in a few traditional trucking companies a while back, even Ramirez Logistics, your father's company, if I recall correctly. They were too slow, too resistant to change. My breath hitched. She knew. "We'd like to offer you seed funding," she said, her gaze direct. $3 million for a 20% stake in SwiftShip. My hands started to shake. "There's one condition," she continued, a slight smile playing on her lips. "We want you to develop a version of SwiftShip that can scale to mid-sized enterprises. Companies, say, like Ramirez Logistics, that desperately need to modernize." The $3 million from Summit Ventures felt like rocket fuel. Suddenly, SwiftShip wasn't just me and a laptop anymore. We leased a modest but functional office space in a converted warehouse in Mountain View, the kind of place that would have given my mother a mild panic attack with its exposed ductwork and concrete floors. But it buzzed with creative energy. I hired a small, hungry team of developers, user experience designers, and a fledgling sales force. Ben Carter, with his innate understanding of small business operations from his family's bakery, came on board as director of operations, his practical know-how proving invaluable. SwiftShip exploded. Word spread like wildfire through online entrepreneur forums and local business associations across California and then beyond. A logistics platform that actually delivered on its promises, was easy to use, and didn't break the bank. Our user base mushroomed from dozens to hundreds, then thousands. The turning point came with an article in a prominent tech blog, headlined, "David vs. Goliath 2.0, How SwiftShip is Disrupting the Logistics Dinosaurs." It praised our innovative approach, our user-centric design, and our ability to empower small businesses. And then, almost as an aside, it mentioned my parentage. Founded by Alex Ramirez, estranged son of David Ramirez, owner of the struggling legacy firm, Ramirez Logistics. My phone rang minutes after the article went live. It was Olivia. "Dad's hit the roof," she said, no preamble. "He just found out 3 of his biggest Fresno-based agricultural clients are ditching Ramirez Logistics and switching to SwiftShip. Their quarterly numbers are a disaster, Alex. The board is talking about forcing him out if he doesn't make a drastic change. Fast." A cold knot formed in my stomach. While I'd been laser-focused on small businesses, the platform's efficiency had, it seemed, unintentionally started to attract larger, more desperate players. Olivia's call was the catalyst. The image of Dad, proud and stubborn, facing potential ruin at the hands of his own son's creation, even indirectly, was a bitter pill. Evelyn Hayes' condition for the Summit Ventures investment echoed in my mind. Scale to mid-sized enterprises. I called an emergency late-night meeting with my core team. We're fast-tracking our enterprise solution, I announced, pulling up the designs I'd been quietly refining, a more robust, feature-rich version of SwiftShip, tailored for larger, more complex operations, secretly built with Ramirez Logistics' specific pain points in mind. I thought our focus was still server message blocks, Ben asked, a frown creasing his forehead. It is, I assured him, but there's a massive underserved segment of mid-sized companies getting crushed. They need what we've built. We worked around the clock for weeks, fueled by coffee and a shared sense of urgency. The result was SwiftShip Enterprise, but we launched it under a completely new, deliberately bland brand name, Logical Solutions, operated through a newly formed subsidiary with no overt ties to me or SwiftShip. The marketing was carefully targeted, established logistics companies struggling with outdated systems, high overhead, and the onslaught of digital disruption, companies exactly like Ramirez Logistics. We seeded the market with case studies, anonymized of course, but based on our larger SwiftShip clients, demonstrating significant efficiency gains. Then we waited. It didn't take long. Less than a week after Logicor's quiet launch, an inquiry landed from the newly appointed Chief Technology Officer of Ramirez Logistics, a man hired in a desperate attempt to staunch the bleeding after their latest system-wide meltdown. The meeting was set for their Fresno headquarters. I wouldn't be there, of course, but I'd be watching every second via a secure video feed as my carefully chosen sales lead, someone with zero connection to the Ramirez name, pitched my father the lifeline he didn't know I was throwing. From my small Mountain View office, I watched the Logical Solutions presentation unfold on my monitor. My father sat at the head of the long boardroom table in Fresno, his face a mask of strained composure, flanked by anxious-looking board members. I saw the exact moment comprehension, then grudging respect, flickered in his eyes as the Logical sales lead detailed features that directly addressed Ramirez Logistics' most crippling inefficiencies, the antiquated dispatch system, the chaotic warehousing, the non-existent real-time tracking. It was a mirror image of the weaknesses I'd documented months ago in Ben's garage. The investment is significant, the sales lead explained, but the return on investment, based on projected fuel savings and optimized routing alone, is substantial. Dad bristled. We'll need to explore other options. An older board member leaned forward. David, we've seen a dozen presentations. This is the first one that feels like it was built for us. 3 days later, Olivia called again, her voice tight. Dad's in a bad way, Alex. He approved the Logicore deal, but he feels like a failure, having to turn to outsiders. That was my cue. The next Ramirez Logistics board meeting was my stage. I walked into that Fresno boardroom unannounced. Dad's head snapped up, shock, then anger, then utter confusion warring on his face. What are you doing here? He demanded. I'm here to discuss the Logicore contract, I said calmly, connecting my laptop. But instead of Logicore, the original SwiftShip dashboard, with my early notes, Project Phoenix, modernizing Ramirez Logistics, filled the screen. I started building this the day you kicked me out, I said, using Ben Carter's garage internet. Then I switched to the SwiftShip Enterprise interface. Every feature was designed for Ramirez Logistics. Evelyn Hayes, also present at my invitation, spoke. The board has reviewed Mr. Ramirez's other proposal. Logicore isn't just software, it's a merger. SwiftShip acquires a controlling interest in Ramirez Logistics. You stay on as chairman emeritus, David. The Ramirez name endures. The silence in the Fresno boardroom was absolute, thick enough to cut with a knife. My father stared at the merger proposal projected on the screen, then at me, his expression unreadable. "You want to buy my company?" he finally whispered, the fight draining out of him. "I want to save it, Dad," I corrected gently. "Transform it. Honor its history while building its future." For the first time in what felt like a lifetime, my mother spoke up at a board meeting. "David," she said, her voice clear and firm, surprising everyone. "Listen to him. I've seen what Alex built, what he sacrificed." After what felt like an eternity, Dad slowly nodded. The board, already impressed by Logocore and now seeing the full picture, voted unanimously in favor. My father, his pride warring with a dawning understanding, cast the final, hesitant yes. The transition wasn't seamless. Change rarely is, especially in a multi-generational family business like Ramirez Logistics. There were clashes of culture, the lean, agile startup mentality of swift ship versus the ingrained, sometimes archaic, processes of the legacy company. But slowly, surely, under my leadership as CEO, and with Dad's surprisingly insightful guidance as Chairman Emeritus, Ramirez Logistics began to transform. We kept the respected Ramirez name, but modernized the brand, the fleet, and most importantly, the entire operational backbone with swift ship enterprise technology. 1 year later, sitting in what had been Dad's expansive office, now our shared strategic hub, reviewing quarterly reports that shattered all previous records, he looked at me. "You were right, Alex," he said, a genuine smile, the kind I remembered from childhood, gracing his lips. About all of it. The old Fresno house felt different now during our regular Sunday dinners, the air lighter, filled with collaboration instead of criticism. And yes, I still occasionally used Ben's parents' Wi-Fi to send Mom funny cat videos, just to keep her on her toes. My journey, from that Fresno garage to seeing Ramirez Logistics, powered by Swift Ship, thrive, taught me more than I ever learned in a Stanford lecture hall. It hammered home that passion, when you fuel it with relentless perseverance, truly can carve paths through what seem like impossible mountains. I didn't just dream about Swift Ship. I lived it, coded it, and yes, sometimes ran it on fumes and Ben Carter's garage Wi-Fi. Being kicked out, the nights in my van, those weren't dead ends. They were the unconventional fires that forged Swift Ship, proving that adversity often hides incredible opportunity. And sure, maybe proving my father wrong was a spark at first, but I learned that my real win wasn't about that. It was about building something so undeniably valuable it could uplift and save the very legacy I once felt pushed away from. That's when I understood that success is most meaningful when it's shared, when it helps mend bridges and rebuild connections. In today's world, we all have to innovate and adapt, just like Ramirez Logistics did, or risk being left behind. What garage Wi-Fi moment, that unexpected resource or sudden clarity born from a tough spot, has defined your journey? I'd genuinely love to hear your story in the comments below. If my experience resonates with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of innovation. Share this with anyone who needs a reminder that their own Project Phoenix is within reach. And don't forget to follow us on our other social channels for more.